What's up, fam? Hope everybody's doing fantastic out there. Today we are taking a look at a really crazy knife from Miguron. This is actually a prototype, and this just kind of shows what these guys are capable of when they just, go crazy. So fortunately, this is just more of a show and tell. It's not a knife that's going to be or is available currently. I don't know if or when it will be available. But yeah, without any further ado, let's check it out here. So this is again a unnamed prototype from Miguron. It is using crystallized titanium and this crazy sort of exoskeleton look to it. Reminds me very much of like the Reich Alien or the Thor series, but just vaguely reminds me of it. It's not. It's certainly not a ripoff in my opinion. It's very much different enough, at least, again, from what I can see, and have held the knives side by side. But anyway, again, crystallized titanium and a really wicked looking kind of a clip point blade here, almost a Persian-esque blade with a beautiful belt satin. And here's the kicker. This thing's using Van-X. Really interesting for these guys to throw out some Van-X steel. Just a really, really cool looking knife. Looking at 3 5/8 inches on the blade, and yeah, I had to measure it, so that's why I'm going off of the actual 1/8 of an inch there. So 5/8, 8.5 inches overall, and then it weighs 4.6 ounces, which is a very nice weight for a knife of this size using titanium. So again, it is a solid titanium frame lock using a full-length backspacer, a super thick backspacer. This is a fairly thick chunk of Van-X. I believe this is 4 mil. I'll get my calipers out here in just a little bit. We will measure it just to make sure. But really nice crisp action on this thing. You can see there it's just a kind of a hydraulic shut. The detent is really stiff on this thing, so I can't reverse flick it. Just kind of have to be careful how I do it. Now it's actually acting like it wants to let me just kind of easily do it. See, there we go. And so really, really crisp detent on this thing. It reminds me of like some old school Kaiser stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about. If you guys have been around for a while, you recall some of the old school Kaisers that had just that really, really crispy detent. This definitely reminds me of that. And it might be something I put a detent ramp in or something. But I've tried tuning it a little bit, and I wasn't quite able to get it right, so I just kind of put it back to where it was. But really nice action here. Like I said, I'm trying to get it to where you guys can see just kind of how that's kind of not even a shake shut, but once you get the blade going, it just wants to go. Really well done. Flipper's in a good spot. The detent location's in a good spot. So once you break the lock, right there is where your detent catches. So you've got tons of room. You can see how much room I have before that flipper comes down and catches the thumb. And then, like I said, you can hear that detent click in. Just has a really click-clacky detent. Really great job on this thing. Let's go in and check out the close-ups here so you guys can see what we're working with. So you have the Miguron logo there. Really, really nice crystallized titanium. Of course, you guys know whose knife this is just by looking at it. But there you can have that sort of thorax kind of look to it. T8 hardware. Crystallized titanium backspacer. So again, full length crystallized tie backspacer. The backspacer has kind of a yellow hue to it, same as the pocket clip. So they kind of have a little bit of a contrasting coloration there. And then again, the really nice milling work here. So that's kind of where the weight savings come from. Then it's not as light as you would think it is because it has that full length backspacer. So if it had a smaller backspacer, it would certainly be a much, much lighter knife because there is a ton of weight savings here on the frame itself. Again, taking a look at this really nice, it is a hollow ground. Actually, no, excuse me, that is a flat ground Van-X. You've got a swedge. Again, really thick spine here. Belt satin, hand satin flats. Blade window. The blade window works well. It would work even better, with the detent a little less crispy. when I was tuning the knife, I was able to get it to where it worked really, really well. But then the lockup was a little iffy, so I just kind of, just like I said, I reverted it back to where it was at. Thumb ramp here with some nice jimping as well. Pretty solid stop pin there. Pretty good size for the knife. There you can see your Venex logo. The only branding on the knife itself is that Miguron there. As per usual with Miguron, the sharpening is actually really nice. And even here on this prototype, looks really good. Plunge grind is not the greatest, but again, it's kind of something that happens quite often here with these, with any knives really. You do have a little bit of a finger twirl there, so there is plenty of room for sharpening, but it would have been nice to see a little bit more of a solid plunge grind there. Yeah, really cool blade. Honestly, I'm really digging it. I would love to see Miguron chase after something like this and see what they're able to do. You guys have seen, their big knives. They've got the Geddon, the Arma, then they have the their newest one. They actually had prototypes of it with us at the show. That was the Alpha. So they'll have, they have some really massive knives that are, just really incredibly well done. But really cool to see them go this route as well. No, I'm not going to do any of the size comparisons or any of that stuff, because who knows if this knife is ever going to come to fruition. Well, I guess we'll show a couple of them just in case. If I don't know how many of these there are out there, but just in case something ever pops up on the secondary, you guys will know. If it's something you're extremely interested in, you'll know what the size is. We'll just do it with a couple here. So we got the drop bear and the pyrite, so you guys can see those. And then we'll go ahead and do the other two kind of really well-known knives. We'll do the Bel Air and there is the Malibu. Yeah, like I said, really, really fun knife, really cool knife, and I am happy that we were able to pick it up for Jaleesa. I was happy that Sam there at Miguron was allowed us to be able to purchase the prototypes, allowed the prototypes to be sold there at the show. So huge shout out to them, and huge shout out to my buddy Shane over at Tac Knives. That's who we were working, whose booth we were working there at Blade Show, and that's who was showing off all of the Miguron. So I would, appreciate each and every one of y'all. Like I said, I'll have everything and everybody linked down below as I can. Make sure you check everybody out, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. Anyway, I appreciate each and every one of y'all. As always, please remember to be kind, be humble, and be EDC. Take care.